Welcome everyone. My name is Marloes Reining. I am the facilitator of this webinar. And then I just want to say a special thanks to our CPD validator. They have generously supported us for today's webinar by waiving their validation fees. SIAD is one of South Africa's most established professional bodies in the built environment, having served its members since 1953. They are dedicated to promoting the careers, integrity, and professional standing of the draftspeople and designers across the country. And their ongoing presence on both SACAP and Rcsa boards speaks of the depth of their commitment to the sector. We are super grateful for their partnership and their belief in the work that we are doing together. And then, so let's get started. Now we're getting to the fun stuff. Who are we? For those of you who are new to these webinars, we are the Regenerative Collaborative of South Africa. We are a non-profit that's on a mission to transform South Africa's built environment into a regenerative one. We believe that the way we design, build our spaces has the power to restore, renew, and give back, not just to the people who inhabit them, but also to the natural systems around them. We bring together ideas, projects, and people that breathe life into regenerative design and construction. And through collaboration, education, and awareness raising, we work to make these approaches accessible, relevant, and deeply rooted in the South African context. From local innovators to on-the-ground projects, everything we do and everyone that we spotlight moves us closer to our shared goal, and that is creating a regenerative future. So we have done these webinars for quite a while already, and so we've built quite a database of topics and recordings, which you can all find on our YouTube channel. They're not available for CPD points, but they're still free to watch online. If you can support us, please follow us on one of our social media platforms, our Eventbrite platform where you register. When you register, also tick that box to get news from us on a monthly basis. Then you get the next webinar in your inbox as well. And we keep you up to date. Follow us on LinkedIn and obviously on our YouTube channel. And then if there's anyone that has free time available or time available during the week, please join us. We are always looking for people to help us organize these webinars. May it be through contacting the speakers, setting up speaker meetings and all those kind of admin stuff, or helping us with our website would also be helpful, or anything you think you can contribute would help actually. So if you're keen on joining our team, please reach out to us. We'd be very keen to have you on board. Okay, but to the order of the day, today we're talking hemp construction in Southern Africa. And I think this is quite a recent and topic because, like as I mentioned earlier, we had a massive amount of registrations today. So I'm very happy, and I'm hoping that yeah, we can widen our webinars to a bigger public. Okay, so we have, as usual, a great lineup of speakers again. So we have two speakers today, which I'll introduce now, and then we will let them present. And then after the presentations, we'll have a question and answer, and we will have a discussion around the topics that have been presented on, and also we can bring up any ideas or any questions that you have related to those presentations. So please join me in welcoming Dr. Johan Jacobs, our first speaker today. He is someone who has dedicated his career to asking a bold question. What if an African crop could help solve some of the world's biggest challenges, from housing and carbon emissions to rural unemployment and sustainable industry? Dr. Johan Jacobs is the CEO and founder of Hemp Solutions and a true pioneer in South Africa's industrial hemp sector. He's building a vertically integrated supply chain that connects 24,000 hectares of contracted farmland to over $60 million in committed global buyers, an infrastructure that doesn't just talk about hemp potential, but is actively making it real. His model is ambitious in scope: 7 agro-processing facilities planned across South Africa and 3 across Botswana, targeting over 4,000 rural jobs and directly supporting South Africa's just energy transition goals through carbon sequestration and the development of hemp-based alternatives to traditional materials, including construction, textiles, biofuels, and biodegradable plastics. What makes Johan's perspective particularly valuable today is that he sits at the agricultural end of the hemp value chain. He understands better than most what it takes to get raw biomass, the fiber, the herd, through processing and into the hands of manufacturers and builders. That supply chain piece is often the missing link in conversations about scaling hemp construction, and it's exactly what he will be addressing today. So please welcoming Dr. Johan Jacobs. But before he's allowed to share his screen, I'm quickly going to introduce Brenton Abrahams as well. Our second speaker today brings over 25 years of experience in the built environment and a career that sits right at the intersection of large-scale infrastructure, sustainable innovation, and hands-on project delivery. Brenton Abrahams is a civil engineer and construction executive and director of Canopy Africa. His career spans major infrastructure projects and executive leadership roles, and he has long been a champion of alternative construction technologies. That includes being part of the team behind one of South Africa's first modular volcanic ash concrete panel houses in KwaZulu-Natal, the kind of work that puts new ideas into the ground. His contributions to the sector have been recognized with industry awards, including Best Lightweight Screed Concrete in 2015 and Best Sustainable Project in 2010. More recently, Brenton presented a pioneering hemp-based construction block to the President of South Africa and the Minister of Human Settlements at the IBT Summit. IBT standing for Innovative Building Technology. A moment that speaks to just how seriously this work has been taken at the highest level of government. He currently advises the University of Johannesburg of hemp-based construction technologies and previously served as a deputy chairperson of the National Construction Incubator. Today, Brenton will walk us through the potential of hemp bricks to support more sustainable and affordable housing delivery and what it takes to move from prototype to real-world application within the South Africa Innovative Building Technology Housing Program. Please join me in welcoming Brenton Abrahams. I'm super excited to hear your presentation, so I am going to stop sharing and we're going to hear from the experts. So Dr. Johan, over to you.
I want to thank you and I want to thank this audience for showing the interest in our discussion today. Imagine if you can actually grow your own home. Not grow it through financials, but grow it through agriculture. And that is effectively what we are talking about today. We are specifically focusing on industrial hemp. Now, there is a very large misunderstanding of what exactly hemp is. So I will want to start with Hemp 101. If you look at the screen, in the bottom left-hand corner, you will see that there is a picture of a cannabis plantation. A cannabis, as you know, is a highly regulated substance within South Africa and elsewhere in the world. In the top right-hand corner, there is a picture of hemp. Now, if I ask you whether you can differentiate between those two plants, I am sure that you will say will be very difficult. within the law within South Africa. The only difference between those two plants of cannabis and hemp is in the THC level. So THC is the product that when you smoke it, it makes you high. So the only difference between cannabis and hemp within the South African law is the level of THC. So it's a chemical differentiation. However, when we look at the cannabis plant or the hemp plant, all that you harvest is the flower at the top of the plant. At the end of the harvest, you are left with this stalk, which is really not very usable. And this product we call CBD hemp. The CBD hemp plant differs vastly from the industrial hemp plant. And that's where the key differentiation comes in. So everything that we are talking about from here on forward does not relate to the CBD hemp plant for flower, for use in medicinal or recreational purposes. Everything we are talking about relates to the industrial hemp plant. So as you can see in the pictures on the bottom left, the industrial hemp plant is planted fairly close together, about 15 or 17 centimeters apart. It grows to a height of anything between 6 and 8 meters. And the entire plant is then used for construction purposes. On the top right-hand side, there's a different varietal, and that is industrial hemp for grain purposes. So the grain purposes, when you harvest the grains off the industrial hemp plant, those are great for varnishes, for biofuels, and for paint, and for many other uses. So the first item I want to put onto the table today is that there is a very big difference between CBD hemp and industrial hemp. So whenever you hear the words of hemp, always try and understand what it actually means. So in the hemp plant, and I'm specifically referring here to the industrial hemp plant, you use the entire plant. If you look at the image on the left-hand side, you harvest the entire 6 to 8 meters plant. If you divide that plant and break it apart, then you will see on the right-hand image that the outside of the plant, the perimeter, is made of fibers. And those fibers is used for textiles, for fiberglass replacements, for insulation, and more. If you look at the inside of the plant, that white stuff that you see, that is the hurd, H-U-R-D, hurd. So the hurd of the plant is used in construction, and that's what we will focus on today. Now, when a farmer plants the industrial hemp, it grows to 6 meters. And the benefit of this plant is that in 120 days, so only 4 months, the plant grows from seed to maturity. It is not like a tree that you take 15 years to be able to cultivate. After the plant is grown, it is harvested, it's cut off at the ground, and then the plant is dried in the field and is baled, as in the top right-hand corner. Once it's baled, it then moves to processing. And in processing, there are three things that is delivered from this industrial hemp plant. The first is the fiber. The second is the hurd, which is the inside component. And the third is the grains or the seed. So when we look at the entire industrial hemp supply chain, there are three blocks. The first is cultivation. Somebody must grow the stuff. The second is processing. Somebody must process and convert this material. And the third is the goods manufacture. As an example, if we look at the Western Cape, where I am currently presiding, the industrial hemp plant grows in all the regions that are conducive to grains or vegetable oils or teas. The industrial hemp plant is typically cultivated from the time period of November middle to around April middle. So you need 4 months to cultivate the plant. It is an incredibly good crop to plant in between potatoes or wheat or maize. So the industrial hemp plant is a fantastic opportunity to explore the land that lies fallow during the summer season. When we look at the carbon sequestration, which is a very hot topic within South Africa and within the world, then we will see that the industrial hemp plant sequesters up to 44,000 plants per planting cycle. So the carbon sequestration opportunity that we have with industrial hemp is absolutely vast. When we look at processing, which is the middle block, there is a very large machine and factory required, which constitutes approximately the length of 3 school buses to be able to process the industrial hemp. So the hemp bales will enter on the one side, and on the other side, you will then exit with the fiber, the herds, and the grains. Now, let's return specifically to the construction industry, because that's, after all, what this discussion is all about. So the hemp, industrial hemp product specifically, as a renewable crop, can produce hundreds of construction type goods, adhesives, biocomposites, bricks, insulations, wall panels, particle boards, plywood. So many of these products can be produced from industrial hemp. So coming back to the opening statement, do you think you can grow your house? Let's look at some more examples. Insulation, roof membranes, hempcrete, waterproofing, lime insulation. The options for using industrial hemp is absolutely endless. So I want to explore with you a couple of examples. What exactly is hempcrete? Because as a general architect or as a general construction specialist, you might not have come across this construction method at this stage. So in its raw form, we're looking at hemp hurd. And remember, I showed you the picture of the inside component of the hemp plant. So you grow the hemp plant, it extends to 6 to 8 meters. The plant is harvested, it is dried, and then it's processed. The outside of the plant is what we call fiber. The inside of the plant is what we call hurd, H-U-R-D. So if you take that hurd and you mix it with lime, normal lime, in the image on the screen, the lime is colored instead of white lime. If you mix that hurd with lime and a binder, like water or an adhesive, you produce a 100% natural product. If you look at the bottom left of the screen, there is an image of what the hemp lime mixture looks like. Now, if you use a standard cement brick manufacturing, that lime and hurd mixture can be compressed into industrial hemp or industrial hempcrete bricks. There are various sizes, as you will well know, that one can use for the construction. If we compare the hemp lime bricks with traditional construction, so let's start at the top. Let's first look at the weight. So a typical hemp lime block is about 6.5 kilograms. When you look at the equivalent cement brick weight, it's about 25 kilograms. Let's look at the R value. There is a vast difference between the insulation that a hemp brick can provide compared to a normal cement brick. The fire resistance is more. The insulation is more. The challenge typically in a traditional brick or cement brick construction is always, what do you do in the corners? With industrial hemp, you use a normal saw, a woodworking implement. With traditional construction, you have a grinder, and then there's a lot of dust and effort to be able to cut the brick, to be able to fit into the construction. The curing time, for example, for a cement brick is at least 5 days or more. For a hemp brick, it's 24 hours. The acoustic rating, how the sound is within a hemp house, is hugely more reduced than when it's a construction or a traditional concrete building. A very big advantage is, in fact, in the mold and pest resistance. Because when you use lime as a binder, that is a natural pesticide. So ants and borer beetles and other bugs that would traditionally enter a brick constructed house do not exist within a hemp house. And at the end of the day, if you have to break the house down and you have to recycle, you all know that trying to recycle construction material is quite challenging. The only use really is for landfills. But if you were to crush or recycle a hemp house, all of that material is recyclable. So at the end of the day, there is no mining involved. There is no environmental challenges involved. because you are cultivating and growing your own house. So on the right-hand side, we have a picture of what a hemp plantation consists of. With 1 hectare of industrial hemp, you can produce 150 square meters of brick material. With 2,000 hectares or 10,000 hectares, that increases. So if we imagine either a commercial or an industrial construction, the amount of weight savings, if you were to build your slab and then your weight-bearing pillars, if you were to build those with concrete, then your infill material will be 85% less weight than what you normally have. I have added a link in there. You're welcome. This presentation will be distributed, and you can go and look and read up on some of the material. So let's look at some examples. What exactly are we talking about? In the top left-hand corner, we're talking about insulation board. There's a picture of an actual hemp wall. There's boards. There is roof insulation. And definitely, industrial hemp can provide underfloor insulation, which is way more energy efficient than normal insulation. When you look at the hemp bricks themselves, the laying of the bricks is incredibly easy. It is a tongue and groove situation. When you need to have load bearing, you can include those into the walls themselves. And we are currently busy with a 300 housing project in Botswana. The houses are on average 30 to 40 square meters, and they are all constructed from prefab hemp panels. The image on the top right-hand side provides you with an example of those panels. It's a wood panel. We lay them down on the floor. We mix the hemp and lime. We set that inside the panel, and within 24 hours, the hemp panels are cured, and we can move them to site. In the bottom left corner, you will see again that you do not need any grinders or high-powered machinery to be able to cut the hemp bricks during construction. The construction method on the bottom right-hand side shows that it is absolutely standard. So there is no real reskilling of any laborer or any bricklayer. More examples: a hemp house on the top left, hemp brick manufacturing on the top right, even hemp roofing in the bottom left. And finally, when we start compressing the fiber and the herd together, we can produce hemp floorboards, similar to every other product and floor insulation that's currently available in South Africa. The key difference here is that the compressed hemp flooring is way more durable. The coloring might not be as vast as we have available in the moment, but the compressed hemp flooring durability outlasts any other floor boarding that we have available. Let's close off. What I'm talking about is not new. If you Google the tallest hemp hotel, let me challenge you on that. Just Google the tallest hemp hotel. You'll find that at 84 Harrington Street in Cape Town. It's a 12-story hotel that have already been built from concrete exterior to hemp infill for all the rooms and all the infills. So we are not talking about anything brand new. Industrial hemp construction has been in existence across the world for many years. In South Africa specifically, it has already been proven within Cape Town with the hemp hotel. Let's close off. Industrial hemp as a construction material solves all your carbon sequestration problems. It reduces the reliance on extensive mining. There is no cement or earth destruction involved. It advances all the sustainable practices. You can recycle material. And at the end of the day, when we look at insulation, you will need less heating and you will need less cooling to be able to live in a comfortable environment. So I ask you, join the hemp revolution, scan our QR code, click on the link, and let's celebrate the opportunity that hemp presents. And I'm specifically talking about industrial hemp. And I'll close off at this point with questions after the next presentation. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Johan. That was a very well presented and very clear explanation of what hemp is. Thank you for explaining that so clearly. There are some comments and things in questions in the chat, but I'm first going to hand over to Brenton.
Good afternoon, everybody, and thank you, Rcsa, for having this platform for us to speak about hemp. And yes, I thank you, Dr. Johan, as well, for such insightful presentation. You've literally set this. You've set the stage for me just to say what's the next step that we can take in taking this forward. But let me run through my presentation, and like we all said, we'll take the questions later. So I'm not going to be long. I'll be very quick, get the message across. So if we can just move to the first slide. While you're doing that, because the next one will speak about what is hemp, which I think Dr. Johan has actually gone through quite well. So we can just skip through that one. Let's go to the next slide. What is our vision? And it really speaks to what is this purpose of today. It is to unite all the industry partners, architects, engineers, the whole lot, in delivering an integrated, multidimensional solution that, one, advances efficiency, growth, and long-term sustainability. Something the president had asked when we were at the IBT summit, and he said, can we produce something that is cheap? And I would like to just caution, we want something that's efficient. And key word there is long-term sustainability. Cheap does not always represent long-term. And I think as professionals around the table here today, that is the one thing we need to take home. If anything, cheap does not always represent sustainability. What is our mission? Our mission is to adopt the non-traditional construction system that enables typically a 43 square meter home to be completed within 4 to 7 days, which is dramatically faster than a conventional method. And that is one of our core focuses at Canopy Africa, is to contribute to improving build quality, reduce labor intensity, and enhance project efficiency. And we learned this in 2017 when we did the first modular home built out of volcanic ash. And yes, through our partnerships, we learned this lesson, that we achieved the 7 days, we achieved a 40 square meter house, but in terms of cost, it was quite expensive. 2, sustainable and recycled materials. Innovative material development, such as hemp-based construction blocks, supports eco-friendly, low-carbon, and cost-effective building. And that's Dr. Johan had actually explained very well. And with approximately 10,000 hectares of industrial hemp capable of producing enough bricks for 1.5 million square meters of construction, the sector can replace cement or fire clay bricks with lighter, faster installing solutions. I want to just pause there as well and say, we are not ruling out what is there. What we are saying is we can implement technologies, solutions that can help. We have a deficit in South Africa in terms of houses. And that number is quite vast. It's going to take more than this forum to be able to achieve beating that number. And that is what we are presenting here today. Another solution, but a solution that we'd like everybody to embrace and work together in making this reality. Not just another webinar where we're getting points, and I'm gonna be very candid about that. Not just getting points, but let's be proactive. 1 hectare yields 8 tons of hemp herd, as Dr. Johan mentioned. Enough for a 50 square meter dwelling. It's amazing that this all relates to one big factor in our country, which is the size of an RDP home. The starting place for masses of our people in South Africa. And yet we are sitting with a solution that can actually make that change. It can make a difference. But what is stopping us? It is us understanding, as Dr. Johan started out, what is the education? It's understanding what is hemp. And someone, our colleague and associate out in Australia, very well explained it. He said it's like a grape. When you look at a grape, you think of a fruit first, before you think about wine and everything else that you can get from it. And that's the same as what we're looking at here. We look at that plant, the first thing we think about is cannabis, but we forget about all the products and the positive sides of it that we can actually get from this. And one of it today is what we're showcasing here, is the hemp block. Again, our prototype. And we are proud to say that we've collaborated and partnered with the University of Johannesburg. And there's some articles in the media that you may have seen or heard. And my colleagues, Brendan Wood was one of the interviewees on ECNA. And you know, it's exciting in the fact that, yes, it's not just talking about it, it's about showing people it can be done. So at UJ and talking all about this, the hemp journey, is also the energy storage that we're looking at. And you know, we can always delve into that on another day. But we have Professor T.C. Jen and Dr. Sina that is working with Peter Hamilton, and they are coming together to create this e-brick, an energy storing brick, and it's utilizing the module or the framework of the hemp brick. Very proud achievement, or at least I should say innovation, that is underway. There is also, as we move along, is what are the benefits of hemp blocks? So we know it's sustainable. Again, I'm not going to, you know, harp on that. That's as well been explained. And again, we can unpack that a bit in our Q&A. Thermal efficiency. Again, we started off this afternoon based out in Johannesburg. We're saying winter is settling in. What's the first thing we're all thinking about now? ESCOM increase, coming up very soon. We're all going to be putting on heaters. For those that are not able, we'll end up making little galleys to keep warm. And this is where the hemp block, the hemp brick, is going to be that solution again. Fire and pest resistance. It's such a huge thing when we speak to insurers and say, what is your biggest risk? And it always comes down to fire. How are we going to mitigate that? Here's a solution. How about a hemp block? Acoustic performance. Something, again, we don't always think about until you move into a house and you say, I can hear my neighbor talking. I can hear what's happening in the hotel room next door. And I can almost assure you, maybe it's a good test for us to go up to that hotel or that building in Cape Town, Dr. Johan, and actually go and test these acoustic performances. But I do believe it is working. Can move to the next slide. So again, as much as building a prototype block, which we can proudly say today that from stats, your average MPA you're getting is between 0.5 and 1 MPA for non-load bearing, and we've on average managed to consistently keep at 0.75. And it's quite exciting for us because this is telling us we're going in the right direction. We've also implemented the same block within a few trials down in Cape Town, Zeekoevlei, False Bay Nature Reserve, Milnerton Lagoon, Kerika Road, R4, Lower Deep River, next to the Broncos. And then the next one we're looking at is Bronkhorstspruit. So we are quite excited about this because we've seen that it's working and we've created a partnership with companies. And again, this webinar is encouraging us to work together, to be cohesive, not to work in a silo, but working together. What is the market move? And I think we're all too scared to say that. What's next? A few years ago when we hit load shedding in South Africa, solar became such a big thing. And boom, now it's there. Now it's forgotten. We forgot that we had that issue years back. Then we got a fright a few months back when we heard petrol and diesel prices are going up. And now for those that have got diesel vehicles are thinking, geez, I'm going to be paying 40 Rand a litre next month. Is that going to be the case? How about going to EV? 3 years ago, we invested in an EV company, which is Carbon Charge. And again, we're sitting 3 years later and we're saying, wow, people were saying, no, it's never going to happen. South Africa's not ready for it. Guess what? Look around. Look at the numbers of what change is happening. As a country, as South Africa, we always like to engage and move forward. We always like to try out new things. And we see that today. And I would like to say, by the time technology changes and feel obvious, which is the solar, eventually it's going to be like the EV, cell phones, the market has already moved on. The winners are those who built infrastructure before the adoption curve went vertical. That's very deep. It's about thinking forward. It's about thinking what do we have now? How can we change the future? Just a little bit in closing on the evolution of the brick from 1973 to 2025. I know we have a few professors that are doing lecturers that are in this room today. And, you know, we always sit there and say, what are we teaching our youth and inspiring them back at that time to what we are teaching them now? Technology. The standard kiln-fired clay brick was the norm, like the first 1 kilogram mobile phone. Amazing how we laugh today that that's what we actually walked around with. They were heavy, energy intensive to produce and served only one function: basic structural support. Efficiency. Production relied on massive fuel-hungry kilns that emitted significant CO2. 2007, we jump a bit, so we go to 2007. The smart modular era technology. Around the time the iPhone launched, the industry pivoted towards high-performance interlocking bricks, similar to Lego and hollow bricks. Perform functionality. Bricks were no longer just blocks. They were designed with complex interior cavities for improved thermal insulation and lighter weight. And that's what we are working towards, mirroring the shift towards the all-in-one devices. The previous slide, that's exactly what we're promoting, all-in-one. 2025, what are we all talking about now? How green can we be? How can we capture carbon credits? Who would have thought that in 2007, that would be what we speak about today? But that is the reality. Technology. Now we have living bio bricks. I was asked that question a few days ago by a German group. How alive is your brick? I guess it's very alive. And it's grown, the living bio bricks grown from bacteria, sand, and gelatin. What we're saying is we have the hemp block. What is the capabilities? And as mentioned, sustainability, carbon capture. Hemp grows quickly and absorbs a significant amount of carbon dioxide during its growth. And again, Dr. Johan had nicely captured that in his presentation. Computing communication, some 2025 prototypes feature wireless mesh networking. This is where we are going to. And I spoke about the e-brick that we are also working with at the University of Johannesburg. That is where we're going. That is the market move. That is being the change. But I also want to caution everybody, let's be practical. It can work. Again, I go back when load shedding was there. How are we going to get around this? Today, you see there's solar panels everywhere. We jump and we hear about our fuel crisis. EV seems to be a solution. It is there. It's happening. What are we doing in the built environment? What are we doing as the custodians of the knowledge we have to bring about this change? And that's my challenge today. What is the market move? It is here, it's presented here, and I think we can do it. So I want to thank you. In my last slide, thank you, and let's build the industry together. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Brenton. Very inspiring. So, does anyone have a question? Please put up your hand while I'm changing the settings to allow you to unmute yourself. I think from memory there was a question in the chat about building regulations, and I know Dr. Johan, you have an opinion about that. It was a question around, can you get away with now I lost the word, a cavity wall if you use a hemp brick?
The building regulations is actually a very interesting topic. The standard in South Africa around building regulations is the SABS. Now, for industrial hemp, currently, there is zero building regulations as it relates to SABS for industrial hemp. There is, however, an organization that is called, let me just get the name correct, Agreement, agrement.co.za. Agreement.co.za. They focus on innovative building standards, and they have a mandate to be able to approve and give standards for industrial hemp construction. So, in short, there is zero building regulations as it relates to the SABS, but there is an institution called Agreement that provides certification, provides sign-off and standards for industrial hemp construction within South Africa. I am engaged with the CEO of the SABS, and the industrial hemp construction standards will be produced somewhere in the future. But for the current scenario, if you want to build a hemp house, a hemp hotel, a hemp industrial or commercial building, then Agreement is your go-to party.
Thank you for that. Brenton, do you want to add to that?
No, well captured. Yeah, I think also from our part, where the journey we've started was the engagement with Agreement SA. So yes, that is definitely the body one's got to engage and go through the process of getting the necessary certification for it.
Great.
I have posted the link in the chat group for Agreement for anybody that wants to proceed with any industrial hemp, either on a commercial or a residential scale. And Agreement is really focused on new and modern standards of construction. So engage with Agreement, and they will provide you with the standards.
Yeah. All right. I have a question around the sequestration. I hate the word. Can you get carbon, like if you're growing like these hectares of hemp, industrial hemp, are you able to get carbon credits for it? Yeah.
So in short, at Hemp Solutions, we contract farmers to cultivate. So in the presentation, I shared that there were 3 blocks. There's a cultivation, there's a processing, and there's a goods manufacture. So those 3 are completely separated. So Hemp Solutions, we contract farmers to grow for us. We provide them with seed, they cultivate, they provide the raw material, and that process of the cultivation is primarily where the carbon credits happen. So from the time that you plant, there's an entire process. There's a very expensive and a highly intensive process to be able to certify that land, to certify the crop, to monitor the crop through its cycle, and then eventually to harvest that crop. Now, in the world, there's a standard recognition of industrial hemp as a carbon sequestration opportunity. That recognition sits around 22,000 tons per hectare. So if we have a 1,000 or a 10,000 or 100,000 hectare farm, we have to go through a fairly extensive process to be able to recognize and register those carbon credits. After cultivation, and when it moves into processing and then goods manufacture, for example, like hempcrete, there's not an incredible amount of credits after that. It's like the forests in Brazil here. I mean, if you can save the forests, there's a big benefit. In South Africa, there's a fairly extensive and well-documented process. So we start from seed all the way through to post-harvest. And that process is pretty well defined. And us as Hemp Solutions, in our contract with our farmers, we engage in that process we receive the credits, we manage the process, and then we on-sell those carbon credits at the end of the day. So, in long answer, not a short process, but yes, carbon credits is a very, very big component of our industry for industrial hemp within South Africa.
Great. Great. Tosha, you want to unmute and ask your question?
So I did have a question on the storage and what is it being done today that carbon credits are obtained through storage in hempcrete, and is it recognized by systems like Vera?
Dr. Johan, do you want to answer that one?
So in short, yes, Vera recognizes our efforts. We have Vera certification at our certified farms. And yes, we are receiving the benefit of accreditation from Vera for industrial hemp within South Africa. So yes.
That's awesome. Great to hear. Thank you.
Thank you. David?
Thank you very much. And to the presenters, very good presentations. I can see lots of progress there, Brenton. So well done. What I just wanted to maybe say is, so we're at TUT, and our whole interest, I think the value of the hemp crop is usually in the floss, the flour, or in the grain, right? And then the rest of the plant would be a byproduct, would consider that byproduct, right? Which can then go into industrial use. So maybe I just wanted to hear from you, because I think that's the only way this is going to be techno-economically feasible. So I wanted to hear from you, Doc, whether you're actually promoting dual use seeds with your farmers.
Is that a specific question for Brenton or for Dr. Johan?
Well, it was for Dr. Young, because he was saying that they've got farmers that they,
right,
so who are contract farming for them. So I also just wanted to find out if they are using dual use seeds, because then we would be able to complement them, right? Because we can either take and process the grain, where the value, as I say, most of the value is actually in the grain, or we can do the floss, which can go into the cosmetic and pharmaceutical industry, which is really our major focus.
Dr. Johan, do you want to answer the question?
Yes. When I started this discussion, I showed a presentation, and I'm just trying to figure out how I re-show that slide. However, there are two types of hemp, and people are often confused. The first type of hemp.
This one?
Yes, that's it. Thank you. The first type of hemp is very similar to cannabis. If you look at the bottom left-hand side of the screen, that's a cannabis plant. If you look at the top right-hand side of the screen, that's a hemp plant. The only difference between those two plants is on a chemical level, on THC. So when we at Hemp Solutions refer to the word hemp, we ignore either of these two plants. Can you just move on one slide? No, one more. So there's a vast difference between what you are referring to in the question, between CBD hemp and industrial hemp. The picture on the screen at the moment is of industrial hemp. We only focus on industrial hemp for textiles, for clothing, for biofuels, and so on. So bottom line, no, you cannot interplant CBD hemp, which looks like a cannabis plant, with industrial hemp. This plant is 15 centimeters apart. It grows 7 meters tall. You harvest the entire plant. And this is an industrial plant for industrial purposes, for fiber, herbs, and grains. So in short, to come back to your question, no. There is no link between CBD hemp for flower and industrial hemp, because you cannot smoke or use this plant for medicinal purposes. It's only for industrial purposes, and that's all that we're focusing on. And this is what this presentation is all about for construction, which is about fiber, herbs, and grains, for insulation, hempcrete, for varnishes, paints, and so on.
Great. Thank you. There's a question from, I hope I'm going to pronounce this correctly, Adewumi.
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yes, we
Yeah,
can.
you did pronounce it
Good.
correctly. Okay. Okay, so I'm here from Stellenbosch University. I'm a professor of civil engineering, and I've been researching hempcrete as an alternative building technology. There is no doubt from what has been presented. I've also met Brenton one-on-one. The cost is a major concern. At their innovative building technology, one of the things the president stressed is the cost. I was there. And yeah, from what Brenton said, cheap does not represent sustainability, certainly. But for this technology to really gain acceptance, in the country, I think there must be government buy-ins. And we know one thing the government is emphasizing is the cost. Is it cheaper compared to the traditional construction method? My question is, in the entire process, from planting, harvesting, processing, until you get to the point of hempcrete, what part of it is the most expensive? Perhaps we should start focusing on that and see if there could be something we can do to reduce the cost there. Maybe eventually it's still going to be slightly higher than conventional bricks, but at least make it competitive. So the question is, what aspect is the most expensive of the entire chain?
Yes, Dr. Johan, you can go.
Maybe I can ask Brenton to come in first, and then I can respond after that.
Perfect. Go for it, Brenton.
Yeah, thank you very much, Johan. So having looked at it, the processing side is the expensive sector of it, in my opinion. Again, purely because you've got equipment, and you've got to, we all know that in order to reduce costs, you need to scale. Now, having to manufacture a block is one thing. You still need equipment, but at the end of the day, scalable, and you can get that, I won't say reasonably priced, but where the cost factor does sit is processing, from starting through to actual processing that material ready for use within the, call it, mixing together and actually producing a block.
Yeah, go for it.
In my opinion, you are asking the wrong question. So the typical question is, how does a hemp block compare, the cost of a hemp block compare to the cost of a equivalent concrete block? That's the typical question. And the answer to that question is that a hemp block is more expensive than a concrete block. And let's not put any roses or any argument around that. But it is the wrong question. When we look at a hemp house, a hemp constructed building, a multi-story office block, you must consider more than one factor, which is the cost of the block. The first factor that you have to consider is weight. So a hemp block is 80% less weight than a cement block. So when you are casting your floors, when you are casting the pillars, and you are expecting a 100-ton weight on top of your multi-story building,
It's a good point.
you can reduce that by 85%. So the first thing is that you can reduce your insulation. You can reduce the investment in the supporting structure by 85%, because you do not have to cater for the weight. So the first key thing is that when you are constructing a hemp building, office block, or facility, you have a massive weight reduction that you can factor back into your supporting infrastructure. So the cost will reduce the infrastructure. Now, secondly, once your building is erected, the industrial hemp insulation walls have got a much higher R factor. So the amount of cooling and heating needed for the insulation is hugely reduced. So when we compare a traditional concrete building to a hemp constructed building, your heating and cooling value is massively reduced. So there's a huge saving. Now, next, when we look at the fire rating, the fire rating for industrial hemp is a lot higher than for normal commercial bricks and mortar. There is another rating. So finally, when we look at the carbon sequestration, 5 years after you have built this building, the industrial hemp building will still continue sequestering carbon. So I think the comparison of trying to compare the value of a hemp brick against the value of a concrete brick and its construction is incredibly limited. And we have to look wider, and we have to look at the entire picture. Thank you.
I very much like that answer. Also, have a look at the link that was shared earlier, and there's also the link in the presentation of Dr. Johan between the concrete blocks and the hempcrete blocks and the bricks, and there's a lot of financial comparison in that article as well. All right, Howard, you want to ask your question?
Thank you. Yes, yeah, and thanks to both of the presenters. I mean, it's just been very educational. The interest that brings me here today is I have a client who is working in rural early childhood development, and as part of our community strategy, we are looking at alternative building techniques for infrastructure. So I just wanted to ask a question around are there are there any examples in South Africa where hemp brick or hemp construction is being used in the education context? And then perhaps if Dr. Jan, if you could go into a little bit of detail around what is the process of rural farmers becoming certified growers, and how would that plugging into that network look like? Thank you.
Great question. Thank you.
So in South Africa, in my opinion, we are very far on the back foot. The South African government, nor the IDC, nor the DTIC, nor the Land Bank are in any way financing any industrial hemp construction in this country. So let's put that out there. If we look at the financial banks, Absa, First National, Nedbank, Standard, none of them are financing industrial hemp construction as a project. Now, I'm not going to go into any reason why they do or do not. However, your question is, are there any examples in South Africa? And the answer is no. However, we are currently busy with the Botswana government. And the Botswana government have got, if you Google, their 300,000 housing project. We are busy with the Botswana government in the establishment of a very large and very first hemp project in the southeast corner in the Good Hope. If you Google Good Hope, is the area where we are engaged with the Botswana government for an industrial hemp project. The houses will all be 30 to 45 square meters, and you need 1 hectare of hemp, which is amazing. 1 hectare of hemp will grow you 1 house. Using a prefab panel approach. So we make the wooden panels and then we pack that with industrial hemp. Using the prefab hemp panel approach, we can erect 1 house with 5 laborers in 5 days. So, short answer, in South Africa, I do not think our government is supporting enough. But outside of this country, within Botswana, and we have currently submitted equivalent proposals to Zimbabwe and Zambia, which have a very big focus on industrial hemp and their housing crisis. So yes, there are, I can provide you with details of the project execution. But coming back to your question, in South Africa, no. Outside of South Africa, yes. Thank you.
Great. Great. I just wanted to have one last question, and I lost it online from Maynard. I'll find it again. The question is, how many large commercial scale processing sites are there in South Africa? And are there any commercial off-takers for herd in South Africa?
Let me first give an opportunity to my colleague to answer, and then I will close off.
All right. Brenton, do you want to take this one?
Hi all. No, I think Dr. Johan, you're doing a job at answering the questions on our behalf. So you may proceed.
So the short answer to how many industrial hemp large-scale off-takers or processing, or let me rephrase that, how many large-scale processing factories there are in South Africa. So the short answer to that is currently, as we are on this 23rd of April, the answer is 0.
Mm.
When we look at these industrial hemp supply chain, there's cultivation, there's processing, and there's goods manufacture. The key to unlocking the industry in South Africa is processing. Because if there's no processing, the farmers have nowhere to sell their product, and the goods manufacturers have nowhere to buy their raw materials. So currently, as we stand in this country, there's 0 industrial hemp processing facilities. However, we at Hemp Solutions, we are establishing 7 large-scale processing facilities across the country. We are contracting multiple farmers, both industrial scale farmers as well as black community farmers, to be able to cultivate and provide industrial hemp. Because we have secured our funding for the first large-scale facility in the Western Cape, the second large-scale facility in the Free State in Bloemfontein, and we are busy establishing a consolidation warehouse in KwaZulu-Natal in the Richards Bay.
Mm.
So the short answer is, right now in this country, is there any processing facility? And the answer is no. The better question to ask is, in this country, what are we moving to? And that answer is, we're moving to industrialization of hemp. And Hemp Solutions, our company, we're establishing 7 processing facilities across the country. Thank you.
That's great. I think that's a good last question to close off with. And thank you, Dr. Johan, for highlighting that. And that probably will start accelerating the whole industry when it comes to brick manufacturing and implementation. Okay, so I'll have to close off, even though I'd love to talk more about hemp, but we have to, at some point, also go home and enjoy our evenings. So the upcoming events. Next month, we're talking about ecologically adaptive architecture, and we have great speakers. Again, one lady from Kenya who's going to talk about biophilia, and a South African lady who's going to talk about indigenous ecology in the built environment. Then in June, we're talking architecture for impact and talking about innovation hubs and some other innovative building materials. So upcoming 2 months are ready to go. And again, very special thanks to our CPD validator, SIAD, for waiving the validation fees for this webinar and making it possible to keep on offering these webinars for free to you all. And then lastly, a very special thanks to our speakers, Dr. Johan Jacobs and Brenton Abrahams. It was super clear presentations, and I'm super excited about the work you're doing, and I really hope that through collaboration we can get this thing going and build more hemp buildings in the future. Thank you so much for being here and for your time sharing with us. Again, if you want to be part of our team, just reach out to us and just hit the like button on one of our socials. It just helps us from a sponsoring perspective. So please use your thumbs up on any of these platforms and share the love with others and join our webinars in the future. So with that, I'm going to wish you a very good evening, a regenerative evening. Thank you for attending. Great to have you all, and hope to see you in the future.